Mark, you just watched that press conference. You've been following this story since the get-go. What's your perspective on all of it? What's the legality behind this operation?
Well, the legality, I suppose it depends on which people that are being targeted by ICE, and we just don't know that, as you've heard from a couple of the people there. We won't know who these individuals are for days or more, and so we're getting these pieces out by bit through families. And so we as attorneys have to take a look at these individually. There might be somebody with a valid deportation order who has a felony conviction, or it might be one of my clients is this 54-year-old woman who's been in the U.S. for 25 years, no criminal record at all, has a husband and 3 children. Why are they terrorizing a woman like that when she can't even be deported to Somalia anyway today?
So in general, if someone is detained, like what rights does the detainee have?
Again, it depends on the individual. One of the things that we as attorneys have been doing over the past few months, and we're going to see a lot of them in Minnesota, is if we believe that the government is improperly or illegally detaining them, then we will be filing habeas corpus petitions. It's, the oldest right of democracies from 800 some years ago. And then we get to have one of our federal judges review that to see if the detention is lawful.
Mark, what's the process like once a person does get detained? Where do they go? What are the conversations like? Where do they eventually end up? And obviously, if they are here legally, do they just get released once that information gets found out?
They should be released, yes. But to answer the first part of that question, locally in Minnesota, ICE does rent bed space from a few of the local county jails, like Freeborn, Sherburne County. But what we are now seeing is they're going to be quickly shuffled off to some of the private prisons down in like Louisiana or Mississippi. And again, it will be days before we even learn that to know exactly where they are. And they're doing that because some of those private prisons are located in places that is deliberately hard for attorneys to get to.
I'm sure there's a lot of people out there in the community that are very afraid and concerned and confused. And if those people out there, like if you have any type of concern whatsoever, what should you be doing to prepare for this possibility?
So we've been sending out, and a lot of nonprofit organizations have been sending out. They mentioned Immigrant Law Center, the Advocates for Human Rights, basically a Know Your Rights flyer. And it explains things both in English and in Somali. They actually have it in Spanish and multiple other languages about what your rights are. For example, if you are in your home, you do not have to open the door unless the ICE officers have a judicial warrant. They usually come with administrative warrants, and you do not have to open your door unless it's a judicial warrant, because that is a warrant that's issued by a neutral judge, not just some ICE officer that writes on a piece of paper that this is an ICE warrant.
Marc Prokosch, you're an immigration attorney. We just heard from those government leaders at that press conference that these ICE operations are already underway. There was reports that they were happening over Thanksgiving weekend. Just during that press conference, there was one of them recited the story of somebody getting taken away from a hospital bed. Have you yourself had any clients in the Somali community over the last few days?
Fortunately, none that have been detained, but we've actually had, I think, about a dozen of our clients had ICE come to their door. And so we've been getting a lot of panicked emails and phone calls and texts. And I have to give a lot of kudos to my staff, because I was actually traveling yesterday. I was stuck on a plane while most of this was happening. And so it was my staff that was taking care of all of this.
Mark, now I know it just kind of basically happened, I mean, within the last hour or so. Mayor Jacob Frey, Adam just talked about it at the beginning of the interview. He put out an executive order prohibiting federal, state, and local agencies from using any city-owned parking lots, ramps, garages, or vacant lots to stage civil immigration enforcement operations. Just like your quick, off the top of the head reaction to that.
I like that because again, we get to the question of what rights do the ICE agents have? And again, if they don't have a judicial warrant, then they should not be allowed to go into areas where they are not invited. And it kind of sounds like Mayor Fry is saying these people are not welcome here. And so I'm excited to hear that. I'd be curious to see the legal justification for that. I haven't read it yet, but I'm looking forward to that.
And we're being told, Fox 9 wants to make sure everybody knows we're not sure exactly how that executive order is going to be enforced, but it is out there from the mayor's office. Mark, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of Somali Minnesota residents out there that are probably nervous to go outside, nervous to be in public. Is there anything that you would recommend somebody that is nervous to be out in public, even if they are a legal citizen of the United States, what they should bring or what they should do?
Again, if they have any type of immigration document at all, then as some of the people you at the press conference were saying, it seems that part of this is targeted. They obviously were going to specific individuals. My clients, they definitely were going to their houses. But they're also just apparently just rounding up people who look Somali. And so if you have any type of immigration document, carry that with you. And I want to make a point of this too, is most of these people, most of these Somalis do have active applications going with Homeland Security because they're trying to get to that final legal status where they can then eventually become U.S. citizens. And so if Homeland Security wanted to see these people, they could just send them a letter, hey, about your application, why don't you come down to the office and so we can talk to you? This all seems to be purely about fear and terrorizing and wasting a lot of taxpayer dollars because they could do this a lot more efficiently without causing this fear.
Mark, maybe this is a dumb question. A lot of these, like when I see resources, obviously, being a black man in America, I see a lot of these resources too about how to handle encounters with different types of law enforcement, whether they be federal, state, local, or whatever. And I often see the kind of asking the question, am I being detained? And then you say, if not, then can you walk? Does that actually work? It feels like a little like dubious. I don't know. I feel like the police are not just going to let you, does the am I detained? Is that a good strategy to kind of go into an encounter with a potential law enforcement agent? Is that a good strategy?
If you're talking about the ICE officers, I don't really see any point to that at all. That's a great strategy, like when you're dealing with customs officers down at the southern border and you get stopped because again you have an interest in the safety of being in your own car. But if ICE, again, if they're targeting a specific individual, that I don't really see any point in that. They're going to, if they let you, or I'm sorry, if you let them into your house, or if they stop you on a sidewalk, they will detain you. And so I don't really see how that's very effective.
Mark, the Somali community, understandably so, is all in the headlines now because of this targeted sort of ICE operation. Are other ethnic groups that ICE may have previously had been targeting, do you see them as being off the hook right now in Minnesota, or do you think that everybody kind of needs to stay on guard as well?
I would say everybody needs to stay on guard. It seems that the MO of this administration is to, spend a couple of weeks on a topic and then move on. So, there was the fraud investigations by Homeland Security here in Minneapolis about 6 or 8 weeks ago. And then they went to Chicago for a couple of weeks. And then they went to North Carolina for a couple of. So it seems that they have a focus for just a couple of weeks and then they'll move on. And right now the focus is Somalis for, whatever political reason that the administration can come up with right now.
Mark, what are some good resources for those out there that are concerned or maybe are dealing with this directly?
Locally, as some of the speakers at the press conference talked about, Immigrant Law Center of Minnesota, the Advocates for Human Rights, those are like top-notch nonprofits in the Twin Cities. Otherwise, the ACLU will always be a good research tool for finding how to help yourself out.
And that Immigrant Law Center Minnesota website is right there on the bottom of the screen, ilcm.org. Marc Prokosch, we really appreciate your time. Thank you for being patient with us, and hopefully we'll get you back here on the afternoon shift soon.
My pleasure. Thanks so much.